Hello and welcome to the Trend Zone Football Dudes Extranomical Fantasy Show. He's Dave. I'm Casey. It's time to talk a little fantasy.
Casey, can you live this fantasy life?
Dave, it's not reality. It's just a fantasy. Oh, yeah. We want to remind you guys this is just a little sample of the Trend Zone. We got the full version coming out actually tomorrow night. So hang with the
Oh,
dudes now. Come hang again tomorrow where we preview all the top trending stories and take a look at every game from the upcoming schedule. Got some good ones this week, baby. Ow!
oh boy. Yep,
But
sure
Dave, let's
do.
go ahead and get into some Survivor, not I the Tiger Survivor. I'm talking three strike Survivor pool. How'd you do, bro?
I had Buffalo over the Giants. Of course, there was a little squirmy time in there, but as usual, but take care of business, no problem.
That was me too, dude. I forgot that I even had that pick. I was like,
Me too.
I
I was
don't
rooting
like
for
the
the
Giants.
Giants
I
for
know.
the
And I
whole
was like,
first
oh,
half. But I was
even
like, wait
late
a
in that
minute.
game.
I got to switch
Oh,
around here fast.
man, we barely made it through. But Dave, no one's going to look back and say, oh, you barely made it. We made it. So
That's right.
we are among the living.
Right. Yeah, Casey, that was, in fact, the most popular pick of all at almost 28%. The Bills beating the Giants. And then, so that would have taken out a lot of people. But
Oh, yeah.
most popular incorrect pick. But I'm surprised not as many people got burned on this one. Almost 8% had Philly beating the Jets and were burned by the Jets beating Philly. Woo.
Yeah, dude. And in our crew, there was nobody that had San Francisco in that Cleveland game. Got out unscathed.
Unbelievable.
I told them that the newfangled Super Bowl favorite is a jinx and a curse. You don't want that dreaded tag.
No question about it, man.
Oh, man. Well, the most popular correct pick heading into next week is the Seahawks over the Cardinals. What are you looking at, Dave?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say tentatively that that is my pick. I've got a lot of the good teams I've used up, so it's getting a little trickier here. And that one, although I hate to be lined up with the majority of the people, um, Seattle coming off a game that didn't thrill me necessarily, but
Mhm.
Seattle at home in the 12, I'll go for that.
Yeah, and dude, speaking of those brownies, I'm liking them at Indy next week, but
Mhm.
you never know. You got a PJ Walker. If he plays again, weird stuff can happen. But that defense for Cleveland, man, wow, they are balling, dude.
They are legit. In fact, they're not flying low on the radar much longer if
Mhm.
they still are, right? Because people are starting
Yeah.
to realize these guys are doing it week in and week out.
All right, Dave. You know who's not balling are my foul boys, and it is time to get into some fantasy go back starts of the week. I know you had a ginormous score in our league, so go ahead and toot that horn, beep beep.
Yeah, no doubt. I could have made one minor move Ford over Bijan Robinson, but even right now, I can't even believe I wouldn't do that. That would have given me 1.1 more point to extend my highest score of the entire league. I don't know what it was, 146 or something like that. I was feeling pretty good about myself. In my other league, though, I could have put Howell in over Fields, which I could have done the previous week. I went with Howell, and then this week I went with Fields, and boom, he gets hurt. He only got like a 5 or something, but I would have still gotten destroyed as I was absolutely slaughtered by like 65 points or something in that league.
Yeah, dude, I lost by 25 and I could have put in Waller. I wasn't sure if he was going to play, so I went with Logan Thomas, who netted me a point two.
Ew.
But it wasn't enough to get anything done. That was my only miss fighting through some buys and stuff like that. So the Foul Boys on a 3-game losing streak. So,
Brutal.
Dave, there aren't any players from the Foul Boys that are going to grace the pages of total fantasy domination. But go ahead and give me a quarterback.
How about Tua Tagovailoa? I think the MVP uh, conversation is starting to feature Tua a little bit right now, right? And he's feeling
Yep.
really good since he's not getting sacked anymore and hitting his head really hard on the ground. Cookie Monsters has Tua, and he's feeling pretty good about himself right now. The 262 yards and 3 touchdowns that Tua tossed, and he's week in and week out putting up big numbers along with that offense.
Yeah, I knew I was in bad shape last week when the kicker I was going against, Butker, had 2 less points than my quarterback, Mahomes. Second straight week, Thursday's done me in. My fantasy's dead before we get to the weekend. But go ahead and give you some props here. Raheem Mostert for the Lightning Strikes. 115 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 17 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. Mostert, baby, doing
Yeah,
work.
I got to tell you, Devin, whatever your name is, H-on, take a little time.
Yeah,
Don't
don't
rush it
rush it.
back. Don't rush it
Need you for
back.
the playoff push.
At wide receiver, dude, it is Tyreek Hill. Not a surprise here. This guy gets it done. Another Dolphin, 163 yards and a receiving touchdown for Hill. He's on pace for 2 million yards this year.
Yeah, he'll get there too. And it was Mr. Swift for the Donkey Shawns. Even though Mahomes struggled, Killer Trav didn't. He had 124 receiving yards, but no touchdowns. All right, Dave, we run our league through NFL.com just because it has our league history. 12 teams, non PPR, no flex, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, 6 points for a touchdown when the quarterback scores as it should be, and only 5 bench spots. This is going to be a brutal week with 6 teams on buys. Dave, how does our
Woo!
waiver wire work?
Yeah, move to last after claim, never reset. So what that means is if you make a successful waiver claim, your team is moved to the bottom of the waiver priority list. But if you decide not to make a claim on a given week and you just wait it out and pick up a free agent instead, then your waiver position incrementally goes up week to week. So there's a lot of value in being a little more judicious rather than taking somebody every single week, right? You want that waiver wire position to climb the board. And then if something comes up where you need something bad, then you can get it. Okay. So it's, I think it's the way every league should be run.
Yeah, it's great. You really sit there, hold on. I've been at the number 2 spot, and there's some guys that I'm thinking maybe, but just not worth giving up that spot. I'm going to hold out until it's somebody I really need.
Yep.
And we're going to run through the waiver wire, and we only give you people that are available in our league. It's super competitive. It's tough week in, week out. So we're not going to say, oh, go out there and pick up Tyreek Hill. It's a great play for this week. No, it's slim pickings. We're not going to act like it's not. But if you sift through the garbage, you can find a little bit. I mentioned the bye weeks: Panthers, Bengals, Cowboys, Texans, Jets, and Titans. So, Dave, if you have a quarterback on a bye or you're just sick of your guy, who do you go out there and get?
Yeah, we've been talking about this guy for a little while now. In my other league, I did grab him. I took our advice, and it actually did me well. And it would have been 2 in a row if I had stuck with him last week. But Sam Howell, dude, he has been playing some good football. Coming off his best week, and the week prior, he was awesome. Three TDs against a good Falcons defense
Yeah.
last week. The Commandos are at the Giants this week. I'm thinking another nice fantasy output for Mr. Howley.
Yeah, he seems to be picking it up, dude. And I'm not in love with this pick, but Desmond Ritter, back-to-back fantasy games with at least 20 fantasy points. They're hosting Tampa Bay, so I'm not loving the matchup, but I would
Mhm.
say watch what the Giants are doing. If Tyrod is playing, that might be a guy that you stream for this week. I thought he was pretty good against the Bills. Didn't get a bunch of points, but he seemed to have command of the offense. So let's see what happens there. But you can go ahead and get Desmond there. All right, Dave. What about running backs?
Yeah, well, obviously, with the Niners, CMC news that he may be out in there. He has the oblique strain, and I don't know, maybe they want to just get that right. And so, even if he's out, or if he maybe needs to be used a little less, Jordan Mason is a guy there that you might want to look at. He's had back-to-back games with a touchdown. Not a great, matchup against the Minnesota defense, but um, you know that's Kyle Shanahan's offense, man. They're going to put up
Yeah.
points one way or another, no matter who's on the other side. So, and it's a great time to kind of invest in the Niners coming off last week. Not likely to be back to back poor performances there. So, I go with Jordan Mason, a little known back for
Yeah,
the Niners.
dude. And it's prime time Kirk Cousins. Probably throw in a couple turnovers there, some short fields, setting up the run plays.
There you have it.
You know what I'm going to do, bro? I'm also going to keep an eye on a team with some banged up running backs. The Lions, Gibbs and Montgomery, both are hurt. Not sure what their status is going to be moving forward. Craig Reynolds came in. He wasn't great versus the Bucks, but if both of those guys are out, this Lions offense is going to need someone to handle those snaps. So why not that guy? This is one of the most exciting offenses right now and the Lions put up points. So it's week 7. What are you gonna do?
No doubt about it. Yeah, and like you said, 6 teams on a bye, so slim pickings especially is going to be at the running back position. But I
Hmm.
I like that. You know what? If you can get a starting running back, and in this case, that's likely what you're getting here, then that's the guy who's going to get those touches by the goal line. If nothing else,
Hmm.
maybe pick up some scrap yards.
Yeah, and you could look at the Rams too. That backfield might be a mess for this week. All right, Dave,
Oh,
let's go ahead and look at the wide receivers.
how about Rashee Rice, rookie for the Chiefs, Casey? Besides Kelsey, Mahomes hasn't really found anyone that's his lean on go to receiver. And we've seen flashes from Rice. So maybe he is that guy if there is one on the roster. They have definitely got a lot of dudes in there, but maybe he can start to separate himself and be that guy. He's got a lot of talent. And he's had at least 4 targets in each of his last 4 games. So maybe picking up steam. Oh, and by the way, it pains me to say this, but they're playing the Chargers next week, who are ranked 31st against the pass. Ooh,
Did the
okay.
Chiefs pass a lot? I don't.
Well, they might want to this week, and Rasheed might be the guy that gets a lot of them. I know Travis
Uh,
is going to get a bunch, but I don't think he
oh
can pick him
yeah,
up.
he moves so swiftly down the field. Dave, and I'm sounding crazy here, but I might have to stack some Falcons. How about Van Jefferson? There's not a lot on our wire here, but the Falcons, they needed a number 2, so they went out and got this guy. They traded for him. He got 2
Hmm.
targets last week, so he probably gets more this week. Tampa Bay secondary, they're ranked 23rd against the pass, so it's worth a shot. And then you might want to check out Jaden Reed as well. I know Watson is back in the offense for the Packers, but this guy was pretty productive early on in the season. So coming off a bye week, might take a look there. And they have some tasty matchups down the road. All right, Dave, let's go ahead and move it over to tight end.
Yes, Casey. Well, with Halloween around the corner, nothing better than Michael Meyer. Actually, it's Michael Mayer, former Domer, Casey.
Close
And
enough.
he has been emerging lately. Brought in 5 of his 6 targets for 75 yards in the win over the Patriots. Um, he's starting to find his way as a consistent contributor to the Raiders' offense, and there's good reason for that. Man, he's got lots of talent. He's the sort of the well-rounded dude, so he's going to be on the field all game long. And so they're just got to find ways to get him some more targets. And if he gets in the end zone, boom, bonus.
Yeah, and this might still be a backup quarterback, either
Yeah.
O'Connell or Hoyer there. So he's been working with those guys running scouts. So maybe the mojo is there. But Dave, I'm going with your guy, Gerald Everett, dude. On
Oh
Monday
yeah.
night, 5 targets and a touchdown versus my Cowboys. Don't forget, last year he had a monster game against the Chiefs in Kansas City. So
Jeez.
I know Parham is the red zone guy there with the 6'9" frame, but Everett on Monday night felt like he was finally getting into the mix. So
Yeah, and he
make
was targeted right there in the goal to go scenario as well. I might take your advice on that one, Casey, because I've been working through tight ends week to week, man, and I had Everett for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and he wasn't getting a lot of action there. But lately, he's been more prevalent, so maybe he's ramping up, and hopefully he can continue to play well. Maybe several touchdowns against the Chiefs this weekend.
yeah,
I would like to see that.
dial it up. I'm sure this guy had a cup of coffee with the Greenbud Packers, but he's back out there now. I need a tight end too. I drafted Darren Waller. It's just not worked out yet. So I don't know. I got some work to do. Like I said, on a 3-game losing streak. But Dave, let's go ahead and look at the defenses.
Dude, we talked about it earlier. Somehow the Browns are still floating out there on the waiver wire, and the unit has played
Unbelievable.
some of the best defense in the league, facing Gardner Minshew, coming off a 3 interception game last week. And this is going to be maybe one of my priorities since I've got the Chiefs who have been doing great for me. But do I want to play the Chiefs against my Chargers, or should I pick up the Browns? I don't know how many defenses I have, probably several, but maybe the Browns is a good one to add.
And ditching your Chargers makes them play better. You hold them in, something bad happens, but you let them go. You're like, oh, I could have had that, but you'll take the
That's
reality over the
I'll take the
fantasy
reality.
any day of the week. And Dave, these guys right here too, the Detroit Lions. Now they do have a tough matchup against the Ravens, but on the season so far, 14 sacks and 7 takeaways, holding the teams to around 21 points. And last week held those Buccaneers to just 6. So um, I'm all in on these Dan Campbells, baby. I'm loving what they're doing on both sides of the football. Finally
Yeah,
getting the defense to keep pace with that offense. That's an exciting team over there.
no doubt about it, dude. They're starting to percolate as one of the top teams in the NFC, and the difference between last year's defense and this year's is phenomenal. They've really dialed it in and are playing a lot more sound defensively, so it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn over there getting it done for those Lions. All right. Hey, you guys have questions? We have answers. Hit us up. We're there for you. You can check us out at footballdudesla@gmail.com or footballdudesla on Twitter. It's so active. We have a ton of great fantasy advice cruising through the Twitter sphere. So go ahead and hit us up with a follow. You will not regret it. And make sure you subscribe to the Trend Zone podcast. Each and every week of the NFL season, we talk top trending stories and preview all of the top games in the NFL.
Yeah, that's right, Casey. That's the Trend Zone podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Or just head on over to footballdudes.com and we will help you dominate your fantasy league and your regular league as tomorrow we cover all the NFL action. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, it's glorious. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Trend Zone Football Dudes Extranomical Fantasy Show. We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And may your fantasy and your reality meld into one extranomical football weekend. I got really close. We're out of here.